Hey, fifth grade mathematicians. Today we're going to be doing entry task day 128. Problem number 1. Which equation has the same unknown value as 180 divided by 15? Well, with these types of problems, I like just to work on what I know about mathematical properties. And what I know is, and you guys have learned this a long time ago in terms of a number bond, right? If this was 180 and I divide it by 15, 180 is made up of 15 and another factor, right? So I'm just going to put a little question mark there. In algebra, we'll use a letter, but that is a question mark. It's kind of hard to show it there. So what I know is that 180 divided by 15 is question mark. And that 180 divided by the question mark would equal 15. So that would leave us with 180 divided by the unknown equals 15. So just think in terms of your mathematical properties. You don't even necessarily need to calculate the quotient in this problem if you're thinking in terms of what you know to be true about division. Problem number 2. Enter the unknown value in the equation. So again, this is a number bond, but a concept with adding and subtracting. So I know that if I take my sum and I subtract an addend, I would get the other addend. So that's what I'm going to do. And the key here is making sure that I line up my place values. So 7 minus 0, 2 minus 0. Make sure you keep your place values aligned. I'm going to have to borrow 13 minus 4. And I'm going to have to borrow again. And 14 minus 5 is 9. And then 8 minus 3 is 5. So then we can check our answer by doing 599 and 27 hundredths plus 354. And why does that keep disappearing? I don't know. So that's 27. 9 and 4 is 3. 1, 9, and 5 is 15. And 1, 5, and 3. And I end up with what I started with, my original sum. So make sure that you write the correct value in the box. There we go, 599 and 27 hundredths. Number 3, which fraction model best represents 2 copies of 2 6? Well, as we look at our possible solutions, they all have 2 copies of something. So we have to figure out which one is broken into sixths. Well, it's not A, and it's not B, because that's eighths and fourths. I'm sorry, it's not A and it's not C. If we look at B and D, they have the same amount shaded. In other words, D is 2/6, B is 1/3. But the key here is it says which model best represents 2 copies of 2 6. So we're going to go with D. Even though B and D are equivalent, D is more specific to the expression. There you have it. Problem number 4. Enter the number of ounces equal to 5 pounds. Well, I start with what what I am given. And so I have 5 pounds is equal to blank ounces. So I'm going from a larger unit of measure to a smaller unit of measure. And when I go from larger to smaller unit of measure, I'm going to divide. Larger to small, I'm sorry, larger to smaller, did I say divide? You're going to multiply. Larger to smaller, you're going to multiply. So I know that 1 pound is equal to 16 ounces. So I'm going to take 5 pounds, or 5 copies of 16 ounces, which would equal 80 ounces. So 5 pounds is equal to 80 ounces. Number 5, determine whether or not each name classifies this quadrilateral. Select all that should be correct. Well, we've got a couple typos in the entry test recently. So is this a square? Well, first of all, a square has to have all sides the same length, and it has to have 4 90-degree angles. This does not. It has 4 sides, makes it a quadrilateral. But in a rectangle, well, a rectangle has to have opposite sides parallel, 2 sets of opposite parallel sides, which this does, but it also has to have 4 90-degree angles. So it is not a rectangle. Now, a rhombus has to have opposite sides parallel, which this does, but it also requires them to have all the same side lengths, which this does not. Which leads us to be a parallelogram. And is this a parallelogram? Well, a parallelogram has to have 2 pairs of parallel sides, which this does. So this object is a parallelogram. So 5th grade mathematicians, there you have day 125 completed. Good work.